So, you're up at last.
Is something the matter, Addie?
Oh, I see. You don't remember last night, do you? I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
I'm guessing whatever happened last night didn't put me in your good books?
That's putting it mildly.
What happened exactly?
It was nearly 2 when you burst in here, soused to the eyeballs from God knows where. I imagine you've probably forgotten that, too. You were muttering something about peace and quiet and then proceeded to relieve yourself on my begonias before stumbling into bed.
Charming. I salute you, O Vice Admiral of the Narrow Seas.
Good God. How embarrassing. I'm so sorry, Addie. I don't know what came over me.
I don't either. I've never seen you in such a state, and I pray that I never will again.
You won't see me like that again, ever. Trust me.
What possessed you to go out and get so drunk, anyway?
I decided to stop taking the soporific. It was interfering with my ability to focus on cases. I thought perhaps having a drink or two would help me sleep, and I got a bit carried away.
I see. Well, I'm at least glad you've stopped taking that terrible medicine. But trading it for alcohol? This had better really be a one-time occurrence. Anyway, you got another message from Upton. It's there on the table, if you're feeling fit for the world now.
Huh.
What does Upton say this time?
That she can't meet me, and that I should go straight to the scene of the crime.
I wonder if that means the police have started to suspect that she's giving you these cases.
She also says news of this case has been made public, and the police are already investigating. Have you heard of Desiree Lathan?
Yes, there's something about her in today's paper. I didn't read the article, though. Where's the crime scene?
840 Right Way. It's not too far from here, thankfully.
You're sure you're feeling up to this today?
I'll be fine. The mental exercise will get me back to normal in no time.
Hang on, where are you going? You always get all the facts before starting your investigations.
Well, this is shaping up to be quite the investigation. I should probably get a move on before the police ruin the crime scene any more than they already have.
Good luck, Miles. And stay away from the bars, would you?
I shouldn't be gone too long.
I look forward to your return.
Looks as though we've arrived fashionably late.
Excuse me, sir, but this is an active crime scene. We can't allow members of the public.
Oh, this isn't just any member of the public, Kane. This is Miles Fordham. He used to be one of us until he killed his partner.
Wonderful. Officer Parsons is on the scene. It's a shock the apartment isn't in a shambles.
Good day to you too, officers.
Fordham? What are you doing here?
Ah, Captain Snelling. What a pleasure.
That's Chief Snelling now, Fordham. I don't expect you follow the workings of the department much these days, but I'd appreciate the proper address.
So nice to see that power hasn't gone to his head.
My apologies, Chief Snelling.
You haven't answered my question. What in blazes are you doing here?
The story was front-page news. I couldn't resist coming to have a look for myself.
There's no respect for police business anymore. Damn meddlers. This is an active crime scene, Fordham. Leave the premises immediately.
We could solve this case in no time if we work together, you know.
We don't need any help. Not even from former detectives. Parsons, I'm going back to the station. I want you to report the minute you're done here. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, don't get any funny ideas, Fordham. If you so much as breathe on anything in here, I'll have you arrested for tampering with a crime scene. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir.
I'm glad that's settled.
I suppose it's reassuring that even in this crazy, ever-changing world, you can always count on Snelling to be a complete ass.
You heard the chief. No snooping around. The sooner you get out of here, the better for all of us.
Begging your pardon, officer.
Yes, what is it, sir?
Is there anything you can tell me about Desiree Lathan?
I'm afraid not. You don't have clearance in this investigation.
And there's nothing I can say to convince you otherwise?
My superiors would be very upset if they knew I was breaking the rules. I'm sorry.
I think the operative phrase in this instance is if they knew. We need to find a way to get Parsons out of here. Maybe we should visit Upton at the station.
Thanks for your time, officer.
Not a problem.
An invitation to the Gascon Grand Dame's Ball. It seems it was held 2 nights ago at the Gascon Supper Club. Might be worth looking into, seeing as it's our only lead right now. I didn't imagine we'd be coming back here in this lifetime.
Fordham? Have you solved the case already?
Don't I wish? I haven't even gotten started.
Well, I'm here if you need anything. Just be sure not to let Snelling see you.
Is he back yet?
He arrived a few minutes ago. I expect he'll be sequestered in his office today, so you shouldn't have to worry too much.
Good to know. Got a moment, Upton?
Yes, but let's make this quick.
Have a moment to go over my current case?
I'm afraid you're on your own this time, Fordham. The walls have ears around here. If they find out I'm helping you, it won't end well for either of us.
Understood.
I'll still be here when you've solved it, though.
Have you been able to find any leads on Bill's death?
Have you?
Not yet, no.
I've been looking, but I haven't been able to come up with anything either. There has to be a connection somewhere. Criminals don't usually just fall off the map.
I'm having some trouble with Officer Parsons.
You and everyone else who's ever met him. What's the problem?
He's keeping me away from the Lathan crime scene.
Of course. He's one of the most loyal to Snelling.
Any suggestions for how I might get him away so I can look around?
I might have an idea. There are several reported crimes that haven't been assigned yet, and Parsons is itching to prove his investigative chops. He'd probably abandon his post for a good enough lead and the chance to impress Snelling.
Upton, oh good, you impress me.
Department politics are something of a specialty of mine.
About getting Parsons away from the crime scene?
All right, these are the, as of yet, unassigned crimes. The body of a young man was found in the Hodgman River by the Gascon docks this morning. A woman in Chumley reported hearing a single gunshot in her neighbor's apartment last night. There was a deadly explosion at a factory in Worcester that may be linked to sabotage. And that's it for right now. Any of those strike your fancy?
Let's hear about the gunshot.
Ethel Williamson reported hearing a sound she described as a single gunshot coming from her neighbor's apartment last night. She said she had been hearing arguments over the past several weeks, and there may have been domestic violence involved. When she knocked on the door, she got no answer, but she said she noticed the distinct smell of flowers.
Intriguing.
Do you think Parsons will be interested?
Sounds good. Let's go with that one.
All right, I'll send out the report as soon as we're done talking.
That's it for now.
Better get back to it then.
Looks like Parsons took the bait. Now maybe we can finally have a look around the crime scene.
Begging your pardon, officer.
Yes, what is it, sir?
Is there anything you can tell me about Desiree Lathan?
I couldn't really say.
Come now, I'm trying to help this investigation. Any small detail would be useful.
Well, I haven't really looked over the crime scene too much. It's rather gruesome, you see.
Is the body still here?
Yes, what's left of it at any rate. Miss Lathan was only identified by the tattoo on her foot.
I see. Has there been much progress here?
Snelling and Parsons examined the scene, that's all I know.
Do you think I might have a look, now that the initial investigation's been conducted?
I'm afraid that's out of the question, sir. I have my orders.
Officer Kane, I'm trying to aid this investigation. There may have been something overlooked by the others.
If Parsons were to catch you, my career would be over.
Trust me, he won't be back for some time. I swear on my honor as a former member of the New Britannia Police.
All right. I suppose you can go in for a moment, but please be quick about it.
Thank you, Officer Kane. I promise this will stay between us.
I just love rookie officers. They're so gullible. I once got one to shine my shoes for a week after convincing him it was department policy. Good times.
Thanks for your time, officer.
Not a problem.
That's certainly a pungent aroma. I can see why the officer stuck to the living room.
Surprisingly modest quarters for a grande dame. You'd never guess she could buy out the likes of you and me 1,000 times over. It looks as though Miss Lathan was in the middle of writing something.
It's an article for Brentwell magazine.
Igniting the fires within. A bit on the nose, wouldn't you say? Classic Brentwell. They have a reputation for making their writers go to extremes for their articles, all for the sake of entertainment.
Perhaps we should pay their offices a visit and see exactly what it was Miss Lathan was doing for them.
Some crumpled up letters. They look to be of the romantic variety.
They're from the same person, one Peter Andrews.
It's always sad to see a case of unrequited love. I'm thinking we should find out who this Peter Andrews is.
Good idea. Now, are you finally willing to admit that looking through rubbish does yield results sometimes?
Fine, you win. But I don't think I envy your prize. That's a nice portrait of Miss Lathan. Too bad it was damaged by the fire. The area where the artist's signature should be has been singed and is unreadable. Too bad.
But the date is still legible. It's from this year.
Odd. Another pile of ashes under the bed. Looks as though whatever she kept underneath got burned too. Or it could be that whatever was under the bed is what caught fire in the first place. Although, there's no evidence of what started it. All that's left is a small piece of cloth. Might as well take it.
The cloth appears to have some oily residue on it. Interesting. There's a letter in here.
This just keeps getting more and more interesting. The law firm of Usher and Price isn't too far from here. I think it's definitely worth paying him a little visit. Ashes to ashes and all that. I'm glad I was buried. Cremation always seemed a bit too hot to handle.
Now's not the time for jokes, Bill.
Are you serious? Death is the best time for jokes. Otherwise, it's all just a bunch of boo-hoo-hoo this and wow-wow-wow that. And trust me, there's plenty of that in life. Hell, you'd know better than anyone.
All right. Just shut it for a bit while I look over the crime scene, would you? I need to concentrate.
Alas, poor Desiree, a woman of infinite riches, of tastes most fancy. Well, where's all your money now? Come to think of it, that question might be worth answering. Ugh, greasy, fetid, stinking ashes. Who knew the human body was capable of producing such a disgusting byproduct?
I'm surprised the coroner hasn't taken the body away yet.
Probably because there isn't much of a body left to take. Either that or Dr. Edwards knows better than to deal with something like this.
That's extremely unlike him. He'd jump at the chance to examine this body. Perhaps we should allow him the pleasure.
I hope you're not suggesting what I think you're suggesting. Miles, do you really want to go carrying around those stinking ashes in your pocket? It'll take ages to get the smell out.
Good point. I'll need to find something to carry them in.
Miles, do you really want to go?
Hello there. Are you here to drop off an article?
No, actually, I'm a private investigator. The name's Miles Fordham.
How exciting. You must have so many interesting stories.
You could say that, yes.
Please, come in, come in. I'm Alan Brentwell, owner and publisher of Brentwell Magazine.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance. I have some questions for you, Mr. Brentwell.
Wonderful! It's so seldom I get to answer questions.
What can you tell me about Desiree Lathan?
Desiree Lathan. Oh, why, she came to me a few weeks ago in response to an ad I took out requesting articles. She told me she had an idea readers would love. We agreed on 10 crowns per paragraph, and she was on her way. Come to think of it, I haven't heard from her in a few days.
Tell me about Brentwell Magazine.
We're a monthly publication focusing on both fiction and non-fiction pieces. My dream was to have a magazine that was well-respected and educational. But sadly, it seems today's audiences are much more interested in reading about sightings of giant bat creatures or mysterious buried treasures. Such a pity.
I hear you have a bit of a reputation for making your reporters do questionable things for their articles.
You are mistaken, Mr. Fordham. I don't force my writers to do anything. They seem to have this notion that the more extreme their research, the more authentic the articles will be.
What sort of extremes are we talking about here?
We had one writer who attempted to heighten the sensation of fear she wanted to express in her story. Damn near decapitated herself by sticking her head through an opening at the clock tower at St. Denis Cathedral. Ugh. Thankfully, she made it out alive. Would have been quite the predicament if she hadn't. Especially considering that was our most popular article last year. Oh, people have such odd taste.
Were you aware that Miss Lathan is dead?
What? No, I had no idea. What happened?
I'm not exactly sure. She seems to have burned to death under mysterious circumstances.
Mysterious circumstances?
Most of her body was burnt to ash, but there's very little fire damage around her. It's as though she herself just caught fire.
Oh, that sounds positively ghastly. Oh dear.
Is something wrong?
I just remembered. The article she was writing, dear God, I hope she didn't go too far with her research.
What exactly was Desiree's article about?
I'm not entirely sure. She merely came to me with the proposal.
She didn't tell you what that idea was?
She did, but I wasn't sure what to make of it.
Please, Mr. Brentwell, stop stalling and tell me what she was writing about.
It was about spontaneous human combustion.
What do you know about spontaneous human combustion?
That's the thing. I don't know very much at all. It sounded interesting enough. That's why I accepted Miss Lathan's proposal to write the article about it.
But what do you know about it?
Only that it's a mysterious phenomenon in which a person catches fire spontaneously and burns to death. It sounds exactly as you described Miss Lathan's condition.
Do you know what Miss Lathan's research on the subject involved?
Only the one contact I gave her, a Miss Angela Maxwell at the Spectre Society in Gascon.
The Spectre Society, huh? I shouldn't be surprised to hear that name again.
Are you a member?
Actually, I am.
Then I suggest you do some research there. There's bound to be something relevant in that curious library of theirs.
Thank you. Perhaps I will. Thanks for your time, Mr. Brentwell.
The pleasure is all mine.
Welcome back, Mr. Fordham.
This all sounds strangely familiar, but spontaneous human combustion can't be real, can it? Then again, sometimes the simplest explanation is the correct one.
Excuse me, miss?
Oh, well, hello there, handsome. I've never seen you around here before. Care to join me for a drink?
Thank you, but I'm on duty.
On duty? What are you, a cop?
Force of habit. I'm a private investigator, actually.
Oh, not much better, if you ask me.
The name's Miles Fordham, and you are?
Charlotte Robineau.
Pleasure. Would you mind if I asked you a few questions?
I suppose not. It would help pass the time.
Do you know Desiree Lathan?
I knew her, yes.
When did you last speak to her?
Oh, it's been ages. She and I haven't had much to do with each other for a while.
Why is that?
It's really not important. We just didn't see eye to eye on a few things.
Was she at the Grand Dame's ball?
Yes, she was. Drinking up a storm, as usual. Desi really knew how to enjoy herself.
How much did she drink?
Oh, I don't know. She used to outmatch me, and I can handle quite a bit.
What can you tell me about Desiree's death?
Just what I've read in the papers. She burned to death. It's horrible. She certainly didn't deserve to die in such a gruesome way.
Did she have any enemies? Anyone who might have wanted to do her harm?
No. Everyone loved her.
Except you?
Mr. Fordham, I said we haven't had much to do with each other. That doesn't mean I didn't care for her. Now please, let's drop the subject.
Is the name Peter Andrews familiar to you?
Peter Andrews? Is he still around?
I'd be able to tell you that if you told me who he is.
He's desperate. That's who he is. A lovesick fool who is obsessed with Desi. Sent her love letters all of the time.
Would you know where I can find him?
Why would you want to?
Because I want to question him about Miss Lathan's death.
I suppose that makes some sense. All I remember Desi telling me is that he worked at the Bank of Vespuccia, a clerk or some such. Imagine.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Were you here for the Grand Dame's ball the other night?
Of course. We all were. Well, except for Laura. Terrible business.
You mean Laura Dupre?
The very same. Have you met?
I have. In fact, I investigated her attempted murder.
Is that right? I heard she ended up in jail for torturing her servants.
Yes, it was quite disturbing.
I didn't think Laura was capable of such a thing. She always seemed so kind. I guess we all have our dark secrets.
Does that apply to you as well, Miss Robineau?
If I told you, then it would no longer be a secret, would it?
Fair point. Tell me a little about yourself.
Why, Mr. Fordham, I hardly know you. That said, I'm always open to making new friends.
Ooh, watch out, Miles. I think she's getting ready to pounce.
You've really got a great sense of fashion and style. All the other Grand Dames must be jealous.
Oh, you.
Can I just say you've got the most radiant smile I've ever seen?
Oh, why, that's very sweet of you, Mr. Fordham.
It's true. Not many women your age still have all their teeth intact.
I beg your pardon?
I didn't know you were such a master of the high kick, Miles. You got your foot in your mouth in record time.
I just meant... You know what? Never mind. I must compliment you on your lovely hairstyle.
Oh, how sweet of you to say. though it is getting a bit ragged. I'm having it done this afternoon, in fact. My girl Adelaide is a treasure.
You don't say. Well, she must be talented to improve on near perfection.
Oh, such a flattering tongue, Mr. Fordham.
Thanks for your time. I'll let you get back to your drink.
Thanks, sweetheart.
Mr. Fordham.
Ah, Mr. Dupre. Good to see you again. Is all well with you?
Absolutely. Everything is wonderful. Because of you, this city has finally seen Laura Dupre for the monster she is. I cannot thank you enough.
I suppose you're welcome?
Now then, is there anything I can help you with?
Yes, I'm looking for Peter Andrews. I was told he worked here.
That's right. His desk is just over there.
Thank you, Mr. Dupre. Lovely seeing you. Mr. Andrews.
Yes?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. May I ask you a few questions?
Yes, I suppose that would be fine. Have a seat.
I'd rather stand, if it's all the same to you. Now then. Do you know Desiree Lathan?
Desiree Lathan? No, I can't say the name rings any bells.
You say you don't know Miss Lathan. Would you care to explain these?
Why are they crumpled up? Did she throw them out? And why do you have them?
I just love catching people like this.
Relax, Mr. Andrews. Let's take this slowly. Now, I can assume by your reaction that these are your letters?
Yes, they are.
So why did you lie about knowing Miss Lathan?
I promised my wife I would cut off contact.
But you clearly didn't. The most recent letter is from 2 weeks ago.
Did she hire you?
Your wife? No, that's not why I'm here.
Ah, well, that's somewhat of a relief then.
So your wife knows about your correspondence with Miss Lathan?
Well, I don't know if you could really call it correspondence. Desiree never wrote back. But yes, Peggy, that is to say Margaret found out shortly after we married.
Exactly how many letters did this bounder send, I wonder?
At first I tried to make it out that she was just a friend, but she found one of the more intimate ones while I was writing it.
I see. And what was her reaction?
What do you think? I still have the scar from the glass that she threw at me.
You're still married?
Oh yes. Margaret comes from a very strict Catholic family. They would sooner she die than divorce. It hasn't been easy. She makes sure to take full advantage of the situation. Always buying herself the most expensive jewelry and spending a fortune on food for those wretched cats. I swear, they're better fed than I am.
Where might I find Mrs. Andrews? I'd like to speak to her.
Our house is at 713 Longfellow Street, just at the edge of Gascon. But I warn you, it's a goddamn menagerie she's got. I'd stay away if you're averse to being covered in animal hair.
I'll take my chances. Thanks for your time, Mr. Andrews.
Nice house. It definitely screams, eccentric person lives here. Speaking of which, that must be Mrs. Andrews over there with those rodents.
Excuse me, Mrs. Andrews?
May I help you?
I'm Miles Fordham, private investigator. I was hoping you could answer a few questions.
All right then. Don't worry, my darlings. Mommy only needs a moment to speak to the nice man, then I'll give you all the nuts you can eat. My little friends just adore nuts, Mr. Fordham.
Guess that explains why squirrels are so attracted to her.
Did you know Desiree Lathan?
Not personally. I never met her, but I knew exactly who she was.
And who was that?
A miserable drunk. Always going out and getting liquored up at her so-called socialite balls. They try to make them seem so fancy and high class, but it's really just a bunch of bitter old hags getting together to gossip about each other. With that kind of lifestyle, it was only a matter of time before it caught up with her.
Do you happen to know anything about the circumstances surrounding the death of Miss Lathan?
I read in the paper that she was burned to death. In her bed, wasn't it?
That's right. Do you have any idea how that may have happened?
Well, I already told you she wasn't drunk. Maybe she came home plastered and decided to smoke in bed. I'm rather surprised she was sleeping alone. That woman got around, if you know what I mean.
She certainly seems to know a lot about Desiree for someone who claims to have never met her.
Do you have any hobbies or pastimes, Mrs. Andrews?
Well, of course. I do a bit of knitting and I take care of my pets.
I take it you're fond of animals?
Oh, yes. I just love animals. Most prove to be better company than people.
Is that right?
Well, consider this, Mr. Fordham. Animals can't betray you or lie.
Uh-oh, I don't like where this is going.
My furry little companions would never hurt me, unlike several humans I could name.
Who are these companions, exactly?
Why, my darling little kitties and squirrel friends, of course.
Tell me about your cats.
They're the most wonderful little dears. Do you have any pets?
Afraid not. My wife isn't too fond of cleaning up after animals.
Pity. Cats make wonderful pets. They're good company and are independent, unlike dogs. Edgar and Hubert are my pride and joy. I give them only the best of everything, and they in turn give me their unconditional love.
That's delightful.
I used to have a wonderful cat named Tobias, but, oh, he had an unfortunate accident. That's why I never let my two angels out of the house.
What happened to Tobias the cat?
Oh, I really rather not talk about that. It wasn't my finest hour. Let's just say it was an honest misunderstanding which got blown way out of proportion.
Well, now I just have to know what happened. I hate it when people tease gossip and don't deliver.
Thank you for the chat. It was very enlightening.
Oh, my pleasure, Mr. Fordham. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get back to tending to my little darlings.
Mr. Andrews.
Yes?
Is there anything you can tell me about your wife's old cat, Tobias?
Oh, God. There's a name I was hoping never to hear again. She loved that cat. I'm sure she would have married it instead of me if she could. Mangy little bastard was always leaving a mess and knocking things over, but he was Peggy's little angel. Then one day I'd had enough, so I let him outside and...
Yes?
The stupid thing managed to get itself killed. Then things got ugly.
How so?
Peggy got a bit carried away and... Well, let's just say I never imagined a cat could earn someone a criminal record.
The plot thickens. Or perhaps sickens.
Exactly what is your role here at the bank?
I'm the manager. I handle the new accounts, organize finance, that sort of thing.
Have you been here long?
Coming up on 17 years. Is this at all relevant to your...
Anything could be. Thanks for your time, Mr. Andrews. Got a moment, Upton?
Yes, but let's make this quick.
I need some information on one Margaret Andrews. Apparently, she has a criminal record.
Margaret Andrews, eh? Give me a moment to look her up in the archives. Yes, here we are. Margaret Andrews was brought in for questioning 5 years ago in connection with a fire at a theater in Worcester.
Oh?
Yes. Nothing came of it, but she was briefly a suspect. Oh, there's more. She also had a prior conviction for arson.
You don't say.
The file says she set fire to a cab after the driver ran over her cat. She served 6 months in prison for that. This was back in 1835.
Fascinating.
Thank you for your help, Upton. This has been extremely valuable.
So, Margaret Andrews has a jealous streak and a penchant for setting things on fire. Seems a likely culprit to me.
That's it for now.
Better get back to it then.
Nobody's bothered clearing this table yet, it seems. Well, if no one's cleaned up, you might as well do them the favor.
Begging your pardon, officer.
Yes, what is it, sir?
Thanks for your time, officer.
Not a problem.
I'm afraid I need to have another look inside Miss Lathan's room, Officer Kane.
All right, but please be quick about it.
Oh, Miles, really? You're going to carry the ashes around in a pewter mug?
It's vital to the investigation that we find out exactly what happened to the body. If anyone can tell us for certain, it's Dr. Edwards.
Fair enough. I suppose this isn't the most unpleasant thing you've carried around before. Remember that time we had to go looking for that murder victim's missing head?
I'd really rather not, actually.
I don't think there's much else we can learn just by looking at these ashes.
Dear Lord, what is that smell? Did you step in something out there, Fordham?
Private investigation is a dirty job, Upton. You know that.
Miles, are you crazy? If you go wandering around the department for no good reason, Snelling will have you thrown in the jail.
Got a moment, Upton?
Yes, but let's make this quick.
Would it be possible for me to access the mortuary?
The mortuary? What for?
I'd like to consult with Dr. Edwards.
All right, but be careful. Make sure you don't let Snelling see you back there.
That's it for now.
Better get back to it then.
Dr. Edwards' lab was always a fascinating place to learn about death. A bit less so now that I'm quite the expert.
Oh, did I miss cleaning up some bit of that last corpse? Oh, Fordham, what brings you down here?
Hello, Edwards. I was wondering if I could pick your brain.
Yes, of course. There's one in a jar over there, and I may have another one around here somewhere.
That coroner humor never gets old, does it?
Anyway, let me know what you want to discuss. This fellow's not going anywhere.
Pardon me, Edwards.
Yes?
I've got these human ashes from a crime scene.
Straight to the point. I knew I liked you for a reason, Fordham. Who do they belong to?
Desiree Lathan. She was a Gascon Grande Dame.
Oh, of course. I heard about that case. She was found burned in her home, wasn't she?
That's right.
I meant to go over there later today.
Well, then I suppose I've saved you the journey. Would you have a look at these?
Does this mean you're officially on the case?
Not as such. In fact, I'd appreciate it if you didn't mention I'd been here.
Ah, clandestine operation. Sneaking around under Snelling's nose.
I don't have much of a choice. I'm pretty much persona non grata around here these days.
Well, you're always welcome in my mortuary. Preferably while still breathing, of course. Anyway, I'll just take those ashes off your hands. I'm sure your social life will soon improve.
Yes, I was making quite the impression.
This is an interesting choice of container.
It was either that or carry them around in my bare hands.
Well, I'm a bit busy right now, but I should have something for you within the next couple of hours. But you do realize the information won't be exclusive to you. I'll have to pass it on to the detectives on the case.
Naturally. That just gives me more of an incentive to work quickly. Thanks. That's all I needed to know for the moment.
Anytime, Fordham.
I've managed to survive the wild streets of New Britannia.
Welcome home.
Addie?
What is it, Miles?
You've got an appointment with Charlotte Robineau later today, don't you?
Are you using your detecting skills on me now?
I spoke with her at the Gascon Supper Club, and she mentioned you. Turns out she knew Desiree Lathan.
Makes sense. That social circle is tiny.
She wasn't very forthcoming, though. Do you think you might try and persuade her to talk?
Persuasion shouldn't be necessary. She usually just sits in the chair and starts gossiping up a storm. I think I know more about all the Gascon Grand Dames than anyone should.
That's good. That's very good. Right. These are the things I want you to ask her about.
So you want me to take off about an inch, but keep enough for your curls?
Yes, that's right. You know how I like it, Adelaide.
I was reading in the paper this morning about what happened with Desiree Lathan. Did you hear about that?
Oh, such a tragedy. Poor Desi. We hadn't talked in a long time, but how terrible to think of her dying in such a horrible way.
My condolences.
Thank you, dear.
Did you and Desiree used to be friends?
Oh, we were like sisters at one point.
What happened?
What else? A man got involved.
You were both after the same man?
No, quite the contrary. We both enjoyed being unattached and had vowed to keep it that way. The Spinster Sisters, we used to call ourselves. But I fell for a man a few years ago. We got married, and Desiree stopped speaking to me.
That's a shame.
Yes, especially considering the marriage only lasted a few brief months. I lost both my husband and my best friend. I'm sure there's a lesson to be learned in that.
I heard someone mention that Desiree had her portrait painted recently.
Yes, I heard that too. I think it was Caroline who told me. Yes, that was it, Caroline. She was looking for a portrait artist and told me Desiree had found one. Roger DeVay, I think she said his name was.
Roger DeVay? Sounds mysterious. Who is he?
Well, I don't know about mysterious. He's just an artist. Not a very good one either, from what I hear.
He didn't do a good job on the portrait?
Oh, no, he did fine. I just meant he hasn't really taken off. His paintings aren't worth very much, you see. But Desiree took a liking to him very quickly, even went as far as giving him an extra key to her apartment. If there was anything more going on between them, I couldn't say. But she could have done a lot better, if you ask me. I mean, he's barely even an artist now. I heard he took a teaching position at the university. Now, who would want their likeness immortalized by a lecturer?
I see. Well, I hope he makes it in the world someday.
Miracles may happen.
Good. I think that's all finished.
Thank you, Adelaide. It was a pleasure, as always.
Likewise, Miss Robineau. I'll see you next week. And she didn't tip very well either.
I'm sorry, dear. She sounds positively dreadful.
No more than the other Gascon Grand Dames. I just hope you managed to get something useful from that.
Pardon me, Edwards.
Yes?
I found this piece of burned cloth at the crime scene. Could you take a look at it for me?
This is from the Lathan case?
It is, yes.
What do you need me to look at exactly?
It appears to have some oily residue on it.
Interesting. I'm afraid I have my hands full right now, but you can feel free to use my workbench if you'd like.
To do what exactly?
Surely they taught you something about basic chemical analysis when you worked here.
Yes, well, I always let Bill handle the more technical aspects of our cases.
A real pity I'm not around to help you anymore, isn't it?
But I'll have a look and see if something comes back to me. Thanks. That's all I needed to know for the moment.
Anytime, Fordham.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Are you Roger DeVay?
I am.
Miles Fordham, private investigator. I have some questions for you if you aren't too busy.
Will this take long? This isn't exactly the best time.
It shouldn't, no.
All right then. Quickly.
How long have you been teaching at this university?
About 4 years now.
And do you also earn money with your painting?
Not of late. I haven't sold a painting in some time. But my salary from the university is enough for the time being. Perhaps someday I'll be able to devote the proper focus to my painting.
I'll let you get back to your class.
Right.
Full of clear liquid. Interesting. Huh. This is linseed oil. It's used as a drying agent for oil paintings. It would be a good idea to take a sample of this, Miles, especially now that nobody's looking.
Pardon me, Edwards.
Yes?
Thanks. That's all I needed to know for the moment.
Anytime, Fordham.
It's been ages since we got to do any type of chemical analysis. This will be grand!
Dr. Edwards, could you remind me what it is I'm meant to be doing?
Yes, of course. Go ahead and get as much of that oily residue from the cloth into the petri dish. Good. Now add some of the chemical reagent in the red bottle to the dish.
Aha! The oil turned orange.
Yes! The reagent has caused a chemical reaction and changed the oil's color. Isn't science fun?
Quite. But how does this help me?
I have some samples of the most common types of flammable oils on the shelf. Go ahead and add them to the test tubes. Good. Now simply check each one with the reagent to see if you can find a match.
And if I don't find one?
Then I suggest going out and looking for more oil samples.
Might as well add the linseed oil now you got some. An empty petri dish isn't going to be of much use to our experiment. Best put something in it. Well, I'll be damned. We've got ourselves a match. I wonder if Edwards knows anything pertinent about this stuff.
Pardon me, Edwards.
Yes?
What do you know about linseed oil?
It's an oil made from flaxseed that has many uses. Most commonly, it's used to dry things like varnish or oil paints. Some people even eat it for health benefits. I hear it goes well with a bit of quark.
And it's flammable?
As most oils are, yes. Where are you going with this?
The oily residue on that rag is linseed oil.
Fascinating.
But I found no trace of anything used to light a fire at the crime scene.
Uh-oh, he's getting that gleam in his eye.
Wait just a moment. Linseed oil? Of course! Anytime linseed oil is used, extreme caution must be taken to dry cure rags that may be soaked in it. That's because when linseed oil dries and oxidizes, it releases heat. A pile of rags soaked in linseed oil in a confined space runs the risk of spontaneously combusting.
How long would this take exactly?
A few days, at least.
Interesting. It's a rather uncertain means of murder, but it's excellent for appearing accidental.
It's certainly not the most far-fetched conclusion you've ever come to.
Thanks. That's all I needed to know for the moment.
Anytime, Fordham.
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the law offices of Usher and Price. May I help you?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Miles Fordham. I'm a private investigator, and I'm looking for Jonas Usher.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but Mr. Usher is not seeing anyone today. If it's a matter of urgent legal importance, you could see Mr. Price.
Begging your pardon, sir.
Yes?
Sir, it is of the utmost importance that I speak with Mr. Usher.
And as I said, he isn't taking visitors today.
But it's in regards to his client, Desiree Lathan. Or should I say, former client.
Miss Lathan found another attorney?
No, I'm sorry to be the one to have to inform you, but she's dead.
Dead? I had no idea.
No? It was in today's newspaper.
I haven't read it yet. Mr. Usher forbids it in the office.
But surely he's read it. Just because he forbids you reading the paper in the office.
No, I mean he forbids the presence of newspapers in the office. He fears they bring in outside germs.
I see.
In any case, if what you say is true, I'll need some sort of proof.
I suppose just bringing in a copy of the newspaper is out of the question, then. We'll have to find another way.
Perhaps Mr. Usher will see me when he sees this.
Oh, what's that?
A report from Dr. Malcolm Edwards, the city coroner, confirming Miss Lathan's untimely demise.
Let me see that. Oh my. Wait one moment, would you?
Martin, what is the meaning of this?
The gentleman who brought that is a private investigator. He's waiting outside to see you.
Send him in, then.
You heard him, Mr. Fordham. You may go inside and see Mr. Usher.
Thank you kindly.
So, a private investigator, are you?
That's right. Miles Fordham is my name.
Jonas Usher, a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Pleasure's all mine.
So, it would seem that Miss Lathan has shuffled off the mortal coil, as it were.
I'm sorry to say that is indeed the case.
Please come in, have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. I only ask that you kindly wash your hands in the basin first, and limit what you touch in here.
This one seems a bit on edge, doesn't he?
Thank you, Mr. Fordham. I appreciate your cooperation.
Usher seems to like keeping his guests at a distance.
Mr. Usher, I have some questions for you.
And hopefully I have your answers.
What can you tell me about Desiree Lathan?
She was a lovely woman. I'm saddened to hear of her unfortunate passing.
How long had you been her attorney?
She retained me some 10 years ago, I believe.
That's quite a long time.
Yes, I remember I had just gotten over a bout of melancholia and been able to work in nearly a month. I didn't think I'd make it out of that, but luckily things took a turn for the better, Miss Lathan came to see me, and I've served as her attorney ever since.
Would you say Miss Lathan is a wealthy woman?
Indeed I would. Her estate is worth a significant sum. Of course, you understand that this is confidential information, so I cannot tell you the exact amount.
Yes, of course. I found this letter in Miss Lathan's bedroom, which mentions that she recently changed her will. Could you tell me a bit more about the circumstances surrounding this change?
That's not an uncommon occurrence. People change their wills all the time. Relatives and friends fall in and out of favor constantly.
Had Miss Lathan made changes to her will previously?
No, this was the first time.
What change did she make exactly?
Just a change to her beneficiary. Nothing out of the ordinary.
And when did this change occur?
About 4 months ago, if I recall correctly. Yes, it was definitely in June, because I'd been in bed with a nasty stomach flu at the end of May. That was no fun, let me tell you. I think I lost nearly 6 pounds from the constant trips to the WC. Couldn't keep a thing down, and whatever did stay down soon came out the other end, if you get my meaning.
I'd say his meaning is regrettably impossible to avoid.
Who did Miss Lathan name as her new beneficiary?
Mr. Fordham, please! You know I couldn't possibly tell you that. There is such a thing as attorney-client privilege.
I'm aware of that. However, Miss Lathan is deceased. Therefore, it stands to reason that she is in fact no longer your client.
True, but her estate is still in my hands. I'm not going to betray her trust just because she's dead.
About Miss Lathan's beneficiary.
I told you, Mr. Fordham. I can't divulge information protected under attorney-client privilege.
Do you not find it suspicious, Mr. Usher, that Miss Lathan died under such mysterious circumstances only 4 months after naming a new beneficiary? You said yourself she was wealthy. Does it not make sense that someone might have wanted her inheritance?
I suppose it's not entirely out of the question.
Right. So tell me the name of Miss Lathan's beneficiary so I can determine if this was, in fact, a murder.
Very well. It was a man named Roger DeVay.
Interesting.
Do you know him?
His name's come up before in my investigation. Do you have his address?
Yes, it's 775 Pumblechook Place in Chumley.
That'll do nicely. Thank you, Mr. Usher. Thank you for your help, Mr. Usher.
The pleasure is all mine, Mr. Fordham.
Did Usher give us the wrong address? This should be 775, but there's no building here.
Excuse me.
Yeah?
Is this 775 Pumblechook Place?
Yeah, it would be if the building were still here.
Oh, I see. Might I ask you a few questions?
You can ask.
Do you know Roger DeVay?
Know him? Of course I know him. He lives here with me.
He does?
Well, whenever he decides to come home, anyway. Rest of the time, I suspect he finds a way to sleep at his job. Me, I'd do the same, except I can't stand the smell of the horses.
I suppose the university would have plenty of places for one to sleep.
Oh, so he works at the university, does he? Well, I suppose that makes sense with him always putting on airs the way he does. Probably best not to mention me to him. He gets real testy when anyone asks about his situation.
I'll keep that in mind. Tell me about Roger's artistic pursuits.
Well, not much to tell, really. He used to paint all the time when he had his studio in the building that used to be here. He was good at it, too. Shame nobody ever bought his paintings. All that's left now are those 2 unfinished ones against the back wall there. Well, he used the rest of his spare canvas to make the tent.
How did Roger feel about his paintings not selling?
Well, how do you think? Made him madder in the March air. Didn't do a very good job of hiding his displeasure either. Well, it's none around me. He always used to say he'd find some way or another to make the money he deserved.
Odd. He told me he was content with the salary he got from his teaching job.
That's a load of bunkum if I ever heard it. Truth is, Old Roger's about as poor as Job's turkey. He'd do anything to make a quick crown.
Well, now, that's certainly interesting.
Do you know a woman named Desiree Lathan?
Nah, I don't know many women. They're not too fond of my company. Well, I don't understand why. I always try to be a perfect gentleman. Guess it just don't got the charm. I've asked Roger to give me a few pointers. He's a big hit with the ladies, you know.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. He no sooner looks at them than they're falling at his feet. Real natural, that one. Never brings it back here, though. Always winds up staying with him, getting a free meal and a soft bed out of it. Ah, well, the bohemian lifestyle ain't for everyone. Maybe someday my luck will change.
I'm sure it will change the day he decides to take a bath.
You look somewhat familiar. Didn't I see you protesting outside the Harris construction yard?
Yeah, I was there. What of it?
Were you affected by the Lygia disaster?
Well, nobody I know was killed, if that's what you mean.
So, why were you protesting the construction of the Lenore?
That Devons fella promised he'd buy us a meal if we stood in the crowd. And for a free meal, I'd do just about anything.
I thank you for your time.
Maybe give us a shilling or two for the trouble?
I'll consider it. Got a moment, Upton?
Yes, but let's make this quick.
I'm done with the Lathan case.
Oh? What have you got?
Actually, I'm not ready to wrap things up yet.
Okay, just let me know when you are.
That's it for now.
Better get back to it then.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Could I ask you a few more questions?
Yes, I suppose so.
Is it true that Miss Lathan recently changed her will to make you her beneficiary?
Yes. You can imagine my surprise.
My understanding is she left you quite a significant sum.
I don't see how that's any of your business, but yes, she did. I'm very lucky. Oh, I see what you're getting at. You're thinking I killed her for her money. Is that it?
I never said anything of the sort, Mr. DeBay.
No, but I can see it in your eyes. Look, Desiree considered me the son she never had, and she was like my second mother. I would never, ever even think of doing something so horrid.
Oh, I'm sure he wouldn't.
I'll let you get back to your class.
Right.
Well, it's fitting that Mr. DeVay is an artist, because I think he's painted us a pretty clear picture of what happened to Ms. Lathan.
Got a moment, Upton?
Yes, but let's make this quick.
I'm done with the Lathan case.
Oh? What have you got?
She was murdered by Roger DeVay, a professor of art at the university, in order to claim her inheritance. DeVay befriended Miss Lathan and even painted her portrait, but his failure to establish a name for himself and earn a living from his art was driving him mad. Miss Lathan cared for him as a son, and recently changed her will, naming Roger as her sole beneficiary. Roger knew of this, and decided killing Miss Lathan was the best way to solve his financial troubles.
And how did he manage to do so?
Desiree had given him a key to her apartment. While she was out at the Grand Dame's ball, he entered and left a pile of rags soaked in linseed oil under her bed. She arrived home drunk and passed out, unaware that the rags were growing hotter by the minute. Eventually, the oil burst into flames, burning the rag pile as well as poor Miss Lathan.
How awful. Well, I'll certainly pass along the information. What an astounding series of events. Although I'm sorry you won't be able to gloat to Snelling that you solved the case before his detectives did.
I can find other means of amusement, I think.
Good work, Fordham. As usual, I'll send anything else your way as soon as I get it.
Roger DeVay?
Yes, what is it?
You're under arrest for the murder of Desiree Lathan.
Oh, I see.
Come with me. We need to ask you some questions at the station. And you up there, make yourself decent, would you?
Dearest, I'm back.
There you are. I was starting to get worried you wouldn't make it home in time.
In time? In time for what?
For dinner at the Rutherfords. I told you about it the other night, don't you remember?
I'm terribly sorry, dear. It must have slipped my mind.
How you haven't yet been presented a prize for Husband of the Year is beyond me.
There's still time for you to get ready if you hurry.
Why not just reschedule? I'm sure they'll understand.
They're leaving on a 2-month trip to Europe next week. This will be the last chance to see them for ages.
Then go ahead without me. Please give Anne and Joseph my regrets.
So you're just going to sit here at home by yourself?
I'll probably just catch up on my reading or try and get some sleep.
All right, suit yourself. I shouldn't be home too late, but don't wait up.
Have a wonderful time, my love.
Ah, alone at last.
If only I were.
Careful what you wish for, Miles. You just might get it.
Seeing as I won't, I think another trip to the Angels in order.
Oh, you're gonna break your word in addition to lying? That's bold.
Nonsense. I'll be home in no time. It'll just be a quick drink to calm my nerves and get you out of my hair.
I think I need a machete for that, Fordham.
Very funny.
So, that last case was really something. Classic example of murder for money. Such a shame. Perhaps with Roger in jail, Miss Lathan's riches will go to a more worthy cause, like feeding the poor. You're not listening to me, are you? Oh, right, you've had 2 drinks already. Fine, I'll just see myself out.
Copper for your thoughts, Miles?
Oh, nothing in particular, just having one of those nights. I should probably be getting home.
One last gin for the road?
Ah, hell, why not? It's later than I thought. Addie must be asleep.
Miles, I thought you said you were staying in tonight. What happened to you?
Nothing. I went out for a bit and lost track of time.
Miles, you're dead drunk.
No, of course I'm not.
Don't you dare keep lying to me, Miles. It's obvious. I can smell it on you.
But I'm not drunk. I only had 2, I think.
I don't care how many you had. You promised me this wouldn't happen again. Where exactly did you go tonight anyway?
I was at the Angel.
The Angel? But why would you go there?
I suppose I was just trying to relive the old days.
So why didn't you tell me you were going?
I don't know.
Miles, this has to stop. First it was that sleep medicine, now you've started to go out drinking yourself into a stupor after you explicitly promised me you wouldn't again. It's clear that you've been keeping something from me and using drugs and drink as a way to avoid dealing with it.
No, really, it's just...
No, Miles. I'm tired of the lies. I heard what you said when I came home from my appointment with Mrs. Lefebvre. God forbid Adelaide ever find out about something. I wanted to think I'd imagined it, so I let it go, but I've come to realize just how wrong I was.
Addie, please.
Enough. No more excuses, no more lying. I just want to hear the truth. What is it you're not telling me?
I can't tell you, Addie. I'm sorry, but if I do, you'll think I'm crazy.
Do you know what I think is crazy, Miles? The fact that you think it necessary to lie to your own wife. Am I to believe that for all these years you've never felt you could trust me?
Of course not. It's just that this is different.
A lie is a lie, Miles. And the bottom fact is you've been lying to me for months. Perhaps I was too naive or too distracted to see what was really going on, but you finally opened my eyes. This can't go on. I refuse to let it go on.
What are you saying?
Get out, Miles, and don't come back until you're ready to tell me the truth.
Addie, you don't mean that.
I do mean it, Miles. I don't care where you spend the night, but it's not going to be here. If you ever decide you want to tell me what's going on, I'll listen. But until then, just go. Oh.
Take me away from all my troubles, so far away from all the worries in my life. Who in the ether is calling at this time of night? Oh! Miles! Please come in. It's so nice to see you outside of work.
Oh, I get a hug and a kiss? Is that how it works now?
You put up your rough and tough attitude, but I know deep down you're really a kitten.
Upton, are you drunk?
No, of course not. I admit I like to have a glass of wine or 6 to unwind after work, but I can hold my own.
Well, I'm glad you're not, because I am.
Wait, what's going on? Is everything all right?
No, I'm afraid I've made a mess of things at home. Addie threw me out.
Oh, Miles. I'm terribly sorry to hear that.
Not as sorry as I am, believe me.
What happened?
It's really not worth getting into. Let's just say I need to figure some things out about my life.
Don't we all?
Constance, I hate to impose, but...
Of course you can stay here, Miles, as long as you need to.
Thank you. I won't need much space. That chair in the corner should do nicely.
Are you sure? You won't be uncomfortable?
I've slept in worse places, believe me.
All right. Well, I should probably be getting to bed. Early morning tomorrow and all that.
Of course. Have a good night, Upton, and thank you again for letting me stay.
Not a problem. Good night.
Election night. The perfect opportunity to switch out one rich swindler for another. Don't know why you're wasting your time. It's not as though the Prime Minister actually does anything. It's oddly quiet in here. Maybe my mustache drawing campaign had an effect after all.
Good evening, sir. Are you registered to vote?
Yes, I am. Here's my registration card.
Very good, Mr. Fordham. You've come at an excellent time. Go ahead and step inside a booth. Take as long as you need.
Thank you, young man.
Well, that's taken care of. Thankfully, the Angel isn't a polling place, so we can still have a nice quiet evening.
What? My head is pounding. Damn withdrawal.
Actually, I think someone's knocking at the door.
Oh, right.
Therein lies Upton's boudoir. As a matter of respect, the less said the better, I think. Should have listened to your mother. You should have practiced.
Good afternoon, miss. If you're looking for Miss Upton, I'm afraid she's not in right now.
No, I've already spoken with Miss Upton. I'm looking for Mr. Miles Fordham.
Oh, I see. Well, I'm Miles Fordham. What can I do for you, Miss...
Mrs. Emily Morgan. I have a problem, you see. Miss Upton said you'd be able to help.
I suppose you'd better come in. So, what seems to be the trouble?
It's my brother, Ronan Lespay. He was murdered 4 nights ago outside a tavern in the Chum.
On election night?
Yes, I suppose it was.
Could you please tell me what happened?
The police took his body to the mortuary and investigated the crime scene, but they're out of ideas. I've been down there at the station every day, but they don't seem to care enough to look into it any further. All they've been able to determine was that it wasn't a robbery, and that the clothes he was wearing weren't his. My brother was a good man, Mr. Fordham. He would never have willingly gone to that part of town. I need to know why he was murdered, and I want whoever did it to pay for it.
Very well, Mrs. Morgan. I'll take your case.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Fordham.
I just need to know where your brother was killed, and where I might be able to contact you.
He was found outside the Silent Raven. It's on Alewife Avenue, on the west side of the Chum. Here, take this. It's a photo of Ronan. It might help your investigation. And if you need to speak with me, you can come to my husband's bakery. It's here in Worcester, at 15 Drummond Street.
Very good. I'll begin my investigation right away.
Thank you again, Mr. Fordham. You have no idea how much this means to me.
Well, this case has our names written all over it. Maybe it'll be good practice for finding the man who caused my death, eh? My, this grog shop looks pretty rough, even by Chum standards. Best keep a low profile while you're in here, Miles. Securely fastened, unfortunately for you. If only there was some way to undo these bolts and remove the drain cover. Yesterday's rain has made the water level rise significantly. Is it just me, or does it look like there's something resting at the bottom of the drain?
If there is, I have no way of getting to it through the drain cover. Excuse me, barmaid?
Hi, what do you need?
Were you working on election night?
Pal, I'm here most every night.
So that's a yes, then?
Christ on a cracker, you ain't too bright, are ya? Yes, I was here on election night.
There's no need to be rude about it, madam. What can you tell me about this place?
It's a bar. People come here to drink. Sometimes people drink too much, and then they're sick all over. I get the honor of cleaning up the mess.
Sounds like you're not too pleased with your job.
I never said that. There may be rough days, but there's a lot worse I could be doing. Here, I get a place to sleep and a bit to eat and a few coins in my pocket if the customers are pleased. And you are pleased, ain't you, sir?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course I am.
Good.
You know a man named Ronan Lespay?
Nah, never heard of him.
He was killed here 4 nights ago. The man in this ferrotype.
Oh, that one. Well, I never saw him before that night, and I didn't talk to him. You with the police or something?
No, not at all. I'm just trying to help his sister find out what happened.
So are you done with the questions? Can I get you a drink or what?
Yeah, she's a shrewd businesswoman. You at least have to give her that.
Have you worked here long?
13 years.
I see. Anything else you can tell me about yourself?
I ain't the friendly type.
Right. Understood. Where might I find the landlord?
You won't find him anywhere. He doesn't come around here more than once a month.
Any thoughts on the election?
Nah, couldn't care less, really. Doesn't matter who's in charge. My life ain't getting any better.
But it can certainly get worse with Leroy in office.
We'll see.
Tell me what you know about the murder that took place outside on election night.
Listen, chum, do you know how busy we were that night? This was a polling place. We had gents coming in and out for hours, not to mention the regular clientele. I was up to my ass in drink orders and was running the shift all by myself. Had to break up God knows how many fights, too. So you'll excuse me if I didn't exactly notice something that happened out on the street.
Did you at least hear the gunshot?
No, I didn't. You try distinguishing a gunshot over a room full of rowdy voters. It ain't gonna happen.
You mentioned regular clientele. Who are they?
Oh, we get plenty of regulars in here. Too many to name.
Which of them were here on election night?
Let me think. I remember seeing 3 of the usual crowd. There was Darius, up to no good as always. Then there was Singin' Tom, but he wasn't around for too long. And how could I forget old Cormac? He'd have talked my ear off if I'd let him.
Sound like an interesting bunch of folks.
Tell me about Cormac.
Hey now, bucko. You've come in here asking me all these questions, but I ain't seen nothing from you. You want more information? You're gonna have to earn it.
Right. Give me a gin, then.
Coming right up.
Don't get carried away now, Miles.
There you are. 1 gin. That'll be 2 shillings.
There's 3. Now then, about Cormac.
He's in here most every night. Doesn't speak to many people, just me. And a right chatterbox he is, too. Between you and me, Cormac stinks. I can understand why he doesn't keep much company.
He stinks?
Aye, he's a sewer worker. Spends all his day underground in the muck, so he always reeks of shit.
I see. Any idea where specifically he works?
I believe he's at the treatment station, over near the ferry terminal.
If this is going where I think it is, then I'm especially glad I can't smell anything anymore.
I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Yeah.
So this is what it's come to, eh? Braving the stench of human waste in hopes of finding a lead? Just make sure you stay away from the edge.
Begging your pardon, sir.
What? Who are you? What are you doing down here?
My name's Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator. I'm looking for a sewer worker by the name of Cormac.
We needn't look no further. But what is this about?
I just have a few questions for you.
All right. Cormac will answer them, but don't dally for too long. It can be dangerous down here for anyone who's not trained as Cormac is.
Would you be able to remove the cover of a storm drain?
Yes, of course, sir. Cormac's got the right tool for the job. Just a few twists from old Mary here, and any drain will open up like a Christmas rose.
Excellent. Would you be able to open the storm drain outside the Silent Raven?
Suppose so, yes. But Cormac ain't allowed to just open up drains as he sees fit. What do you want this drain open for?
I believe there's a vital piece of evidence at the bottom of the drain.
You don't say.
It's quite true. It may even help me solve a murder.
Well then, in that case, Cormac will get the drain open for you. Come on, there's not a moment to lose. This it then?
That's the one.
Right, won't be a moment. There we are.
Thank you for your help, Cormac.
Not a problem. Now, if you don't mind, Cormac's just going to pop inside for a quick pint.
Detective work is a dirty job, but someone has to do it. Don't forget to roll up your sleeve.
I really hope there's something down there. Ugh. This is almost as bad as the time I had to search for that stolen necklace in a pile of horse manure.
I'm really glad I didn't draw the short straw in that case. Well, how about that?
Wish the police had found this so I wouldn't have to carry it around.
All right, Mr. Chavez. The cake and muffins come to a total of 6 crowns, 10 shillings.
There you are, Mrs. Morgan. And thank you again. Barbara is going to love this.
My pleasure. Enjoy.
Pardon me, sir.
I'm sure Barbara will enjoy them, the cow. Ah, Mr. Fordham. Welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Morgan. You got time for a few more questions, Mrs. Morgan?
Yes, of course.
What can you tell me about your brother?
Ronan was the best brother anyone could have asked for. He took care of me after our parents died. Carriage accident. I was only 9 and he was 13. Ronan went out and found work and managed to support the both of us. He was just a child himself, but he kept us out of the gutter. Or worse, the workhouse.
How did you hear of his death?
Ronan comes by to visit me every day after he finishes work. When he didn't come for 2 days in a row, I got worried. I went to his apartment, but he wasn't there. So I made a report to the police. Yesterday, they contacted me and asked me to come to the mortuary.
I'm terribly sorry for your loss, Mrs. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Fordham. Please, find whoever did this to him. Ronan deserved so much better.
What do you know about your brother's murder?
Only what the police told me. He was shot at close range outside that pub in the Chum. Nothing was missing, and his wallet had money in it, so they said it wasn't a robbery. I didn't recognize the clothes he was wearing. I had never seen them before, and they were far too big for him. I still can't believe he's gone. He was the only family I had left.
Dr. Edwards at the mortuary might be able to give us some more detailed information. The only thing we'll get out of this one is more tears.
Those are all the questions I have for now.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
I was beginning to wonder when you'd show up.
Well, wonder no longer. I'm here and I need to see Dr. Edwards.
Oh, I see how it is. He helped you solve a case, and now you don't have time for us lowly front desk clerks.
That's just the way it goes, Upton. Maybe next time you should pick a nicer coffee house.
Right. You know the way. Snelling isn't in today, so you're all clear.
Well, that's a relief. Thanks, Upton. I hope I'm not interrupting anything, Edwards.
Ah, Fordham. Always a pleasure.
Have you got time for some questions?
Of course.
So what can you tell me about Ronan Lespay?
Caucasian male, approximately 27 years old. Died of blood loss as a result of being shot at close range. He was brought in 4 nights ago. I performed the postmortem the following day. After that, his next of kin was contacted. I believe his sister came to identify the body.
Any personal opinions on what might have happened?
Well, the fact he was shot at such a close range would suggest it was done by someone he knew. And robbery doesn't appear to be a motive, since his wallet was found on the body with money in it. Beyond that, your guess is as good as mine.
Better, I hope.
Did the postmortem reveal anything?
Quite a few things, actually. Mr. Lespay was extremely inebriated when the shooting took place. There was enough alcohol in his blood to presume he had been drinking for hours before his death. I also managed to remove the bullet from his heart. It's a .36 caliber lead ball, standard revolver shot. It shouldn't be too hard to match to a weapon, provided you can find it.
I found this pistol at the scene of the Lespay crime. Did you take a look and see if it was used to murder him?
It's all slimy. Where was it?
Sitting at the bottom of a storm drain.
Oh, I suppose that's not as exciting as finding it inside someone's intestines. Did I ever tell you about that post-mortem, by the way?
No, I certainly don't want to hear about it now. How long will it take you to analyze that pistol?
I should have something conclusive within the hour, if you don't mind waiting.
No, it'll give me some time to gather my thoughts.
Right. I've concluded my analysis, and this gun was definitely used to shoot Mr. Lespay. The bullet I removed from his body is a perfect match.
Thank you, Edwards. That is extremely helpful.
There's one more thing. I cleaned off some of the muck and found the initials JB etched into the handle.
Interesting.
My expertise with guns is purely forensic, so I can't determine if this is the gun's maker or the initials of its owner. That's going to have to be your job.
Thank you, Edwards. Help is always appreciated. I'll be going now, Edwards.
Take care, Fordham. And remember, not everyone gets to leave the morgue alive, so consider yourself lucky that you can.
You got time for a few more questions, Mrs. Morgan?
Yes, of course.
What sort of life did Ronan lead?
You know, just normal. He'd go to work, come visit me afterwards, and go home. He didn't have much of a social life. At least he never mentioned any friends to me. I always hoped Ronan would meet a nice girl to settle down with, but he was so shy, you know.
Where did Ronan work?
At the Grips Home Taxidermy Shop in Gascone. I always thought it was rather macabre work, but he enjoyed it. Bit lonely, though.
Can you give me the address of Ronan's apartment?
It's at 1172 Bushmill Street. I have a spare key.
That would be most helpful. Thank you. Those are all the questions I have for now.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
Quite the collection of exotic items in here. Ronan appears to be a seasoned world traveler.
Or at least knows someone who is.
This one is scarier than the other masks. Wait a moment. I think I saw something shiny in the back of the mouth.
How about that? A perfect hiding place for a key.
Now to find out what Mr. Lespay finds so precious. They appear to be a pair of letters from Ronan's landlord. This one appears to be from Emily. A model of the SS Joondalup. Looks like a merchant vessel to me. It's empty. Too bad. Aha! A letter from someone called Jimbo?
There are two entries, one from this year and one from last.
So, start with last year's.
July 8th, 1843. I've decided I need to get out more, so I'm going to a club in Gascone tonight. Stuffing animals has taken its toll, and I need to talk to someone who isn't Emily or my co-workers. Gerald told me about a place called the Crimson Cat. I'll try it, and if I don't enjoy myself, I'll just come home. Now for this year's entry. July 8th, 1844. Today is our one-year anniversary. We're going to meet at the Cat again. I love him, but I wish he wasn't so attached to that place. Emily is so nosy, I worry that she might follow me and discover the truth about Jimbo. If we moved around, I wouldn't worry, but with him, it's always the Crimson Cat. I really shouldn't complain, though. What we have is something truly special.
Well, it seems that our best hope of finding this Jimbo character is to visit the Crimson Cat. Ronan's book collection mostly consists of cheap pulp adventure novels, but this top shelf looks interesting.
Hello, and welcome to the Gripsome Taxidermy Shop. Please let me know if I can be of service.
I was wondering if you might answer some questions for me.
Of course. What can I help you with?
I was told Ronan Lespay works here. Do you know him?
Ronan? Yes, of course. That is to say, I know he works here. I haven't had much interaction with him. He mostly keeps to himself.
Does he have an office or workspace I might have a look at?
Now, wait just a minute. Why would I let some random stranger off the street in to look at an employee's workspace?
Because I'm a private investigator and I'm trying to get some information.
Well, even if that is the case, I'm afraid you're out of luck. Ronan does have a workspace, but it's completely bare. He doesn't keep anything here.
Were you aware that Ronan was murdered 4 nights ago?
I had no idea. That's awful. What happened?
That's what I'm currently trying to find out. Do you know if Ronan had any enemies? Anyone who might want to do him harm?
No. As I said, I didn't speak with him much, or know much about him. But now that I think about it, I did notice a strange man waiting around outside the shop a few days ago.
Tell me about this strange man you saw.
At the time, I didn't think much of him, but the more I recall, the more I realize he was being very suspicious.
What did he do?
He just stood outside across the street, but he seemed to be focusing on the building. It was as though he was waiting for someone.
Do you remember what this man looked like?
I didn't get a very good look at him, but I do remember some things. He was tall and had a heavy build, like a boxer or a dock worker. He had a beard, I think, or mutton chops at the very least. And as far as I can recall, he was wearing all black. He also had on some kind of cap. I'm sorry I can't give you a better description, but that's all I was able to distinguish. My eyesight isn't very good, I'm afraid.
It'll have to do. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your help.
I'm here to serve.
A moment of your time, if I may.
Right, I'll make it quick.
I wonder if you could tell me if you saw a man of this description at the Silent Raven on election night. He's tall, of strong build, with a beard or mutton chops, dressing all in black and possibly wearing a cap.
Oh, hi. Cormac remembers seeing a fella like that.
What was he doing?
Kept going in and out of the bar. When he was inside, he stood near the voting booths, hardly moving a muscle.
And when he was outside?
That, Cormac couldn't say.
Did you notice anything else about him?
Yes. Cormac noticed him come in and speak with Nicole, the barmaid, after the commotion outside.
Is that right? That's very interesting. Thanks for your time. I'll let you get back to your drink. Excuse me, barmaid?
Hi, what do you need?
I was given the physical description of a man, and I was wondering if you might recognize him if I told you.
Perhaps. Go on, then.
He's tall, of strong build, with a beard or mutton chops, dressing all in black and possibly wearing a cap.
Bit vague, wouldn't you say? That covers about half our clientele.
I was afraid that might be the case. Did you notice anyone of that description here on election night?
No. Can't say I did, sorry.
Is that right? Because Cormac told me he saw you speaking with someone of that description shortly after the murder occurred.
And you believed him? Cormac's a good sort, but he's not exactly reliable.
I'd say he's twice as reliable as you are. Now tell me the truth, or I'll have you in as an accomplice to murder.
All right, relax. I don't know the man by name, but he came to me after the commotion outside and paid me a few crowns to keep my mouth shut about it. I didn't ask any more questions, and I wasn't about to refuse some extra cash. That was that, I swear.
That's not good enough. I need some way to find this man. Is there anything else you can tell me?
Well, I did notice he had a scar on his left cheek. Kinda looked like a shepherd's crook. But that's all, really.
suppose that'll have to do. What can you tell me about Darius?
Now that man is trouble. I've had to throw him out a few times.
Why do you say he's trouble?
His mind's affected by the poppy seed. He can be gentle as a kitten or fly into a rage at a moment's notice. When he gets rowdy, he gets chucked.
I see. Any idea where I might be able to find him?
Don't know why you'd want to find him, but I hear he spends his day at a smokehouse nearby. I believe it's on Crisparkle Lane. Just look for the door with the oriental symbols above it.
And could you describe him to me?
He's a rough-looking sort, about 55 years old, has a scar on his left cheek, grayish hair, medium build.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Yeah.
Yes? What do you want?
I was told this was the place to come if I wanted to ride the dragon.
Oh. Well, why didn't you say so? Please, come in.
Excuse me, I'm looking for a man by the name of Darius.
Well, look no further. Welcome, friend. Sit. Join me.
I'll stand, if that's all right. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions.
Questions are the path to enlightenment. Answers fly by as birds on the breeze. But will a caged bird sing? That is the true question.
Wonderful. He's as high as a kite. This is going to be worse than pulling teeth.
Are you familiar with a man named Ronan Lespay?
I know many men. Some old, some young, some rich, some poor. Some I know by name, some by face. But this man you speak of, this Ronan, he is unfamiliar to me.
I have a ferrotype. Do you recognize him?
Forgive me, but my eyes are blurry. I cannot make out his features.
Well, he's useless, isn't he? Too bad there's no way to snap him out of it, like there was with Dupre's kid.
Do you know anything about the murder outside the Silent Raven on election night?
Murder? Was it a murder?
It was. A man was shot in cold blood.
That would explain the commotion, as well as the sound.
So you heard the gunshot?
I did. I thought it might have been one of the voting machines making the noise. But then there were shouts, and people began to run.
Did you see or hear anything before you heard the gunshot?
I seem to remember hearing a man shouting a name.
A name?
Yes. It sounded like Priscilla.
Well, how about that? He's managed to be of some use after all. Assuming he's telling the truth, of course.
And does the name Priscilla mean anything to you?
Afraid not, young man.
Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, young man. May you find peace and happiness.
Ah, the Crimson Cat. One of my favorite underground clubs. Ooh, I spent some wild nights here. Which reminds me, I wonder if Stefan is still working the bar these days.
Beg your pardon. Your name wouldn't happen to be Jimbo, would it?
Yeah? Who's asking?
Miles Fordham, private investigator.
Can a guy enjoy his shore leave without being harassed by the law? I've done nothing wrong.
I didn't say you had, and I'm most certainly not the law. I just want to ask you a few questions.
All right, fine.
Where does the name Jimbo come from?
It's just a nickname. My real name's James Bowcroft.
And what is it you do?
I'm a sailor. I thought you detective types were supposed to be extra observant. Shouldn't you be able to tell me what my occupation was just by looking at my fingernails or something?
Sorry to disappoint. Perceptiveness is important in my line of work, but I'm also just a man.
I think perhaps Jimbo has been reading too many of those detective stories in Brentwood's.
You know Ronan Spay?
I knew him, yeah.
Knew him?
He and I haven't spoken recently. In about a month, actually. Things didn't go so well last time.
How do you mean?
Let's just say we didn't part on the best of terms. He made it very clear that he didn't want to speak to me again.
Does the name Priscilla mean anything to you?
Yes, that's my ship, the SS Priscilla.
I see. Did Ronan know about it?
Of course. He always used to ask me to bring him back some exotic souvenir.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Miles, have you ever noticed that this Jimbo fellow fits the description of the man loitering outside the taxidermy shop? The barmaid told us she saw someone matching that description at the Raven on election night. Not only that, Priscilla just so happens to be the name of the ship Jimbo works on. And the pistol used to murder Ronan has the initials JB etched on it. It could be a coincidence, but I think it's quite reasonable to consider him as a suspect.
Excuse me, barmaid?
Hi, what do you need?
Who is singing Tom?
Ah, Tom. Not sure what his surname is, but he's in here about twice a week. We call him Singing Tom because he leads the church choir.
Is that right? Which church?
Oh, I haven't a clue. Never really cared to ask.
Does he associate with any of the other regulars?
I've seen him talking with Darius a few times. They seem to be on friendly terms.
Does the name Priscilla mean anything to you?
Nope.
I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Yeah.
Hello, Jimbo. I have a few more questions for you.
All right, fine.
Were you aware that Ronan was murdered?
What? No, when? What happened?
He was shot outside a tavern in Chumley 4 nights ago.
Chumley? What was he doing there?
I was hoping perhaps you could tell me.
I honestly don't know. Ronan hardly went out, and he especially never crossed the river.
Why was that?
I think he was just too scared of the world to go out and see it for himself. He was happy enough reading about it in his books or collecting things I brought him back from my travels. Honestly, that's what I liked most about him. He was just an average, boring man. It was just the sort of balance I needed in my life.
That's pretty much the exact same reason I always enjoyed working with you, Miles.
You and Ronan had a special relationship, didn't you?
Mr. Fordham, we're in an underground club. You don't have to tap dance around it. Yes, Ronan and I were a couple, at least up until last month.
What happened, if you don't mind me asking?
We had a misunderstanding. Ronan thought I had been seeing someone else. He was extremely jealous. I tried to explain that he had it all wrong, but he wouldn't hear me out. I was going to give him some time to cool off, but, well, that's not going to happen now, is it?
If it's any consolation, I found a letter you wrote him, which he still kept in his desk.
Damn. Thank you for telling me that.
Do you have any opinions about the recent election?
Not really. I'm usually way at sea, so I don't keep up with politics. The sea's got her own laws. Anyway, I can't vote, so it's really none of my concern.
But you're still affected by the decisions the Prime Minister makes.
Not very fair, is it, Mr. Fordham?
No, I suppose it isn't. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I have a few more questions for you.
I'm listening.
I was wondering if you could tell me whether you saw a certain man at the Raven on election night. He's tall, of strong build, with a beard or mutton chops, dressing all in black and possibly wearing a cap.
Lots of people like that go to the Raven. I see loads of them every night. But now that you mention it, I do remember someone like that. He was a strange one.
How so?
I remember one of the times he came in, he was adjusting his hat. I could have sworn when he took it off for just a moment, his hair was bright red.
How is that strange, exactly?
Because his beard was jet black. It was the oddest thing I'd seen. Well, it was the oddest thing I'd seen, until his beard slid halfway down his face.
I see. Well, thank you for the information.
Wonderful. This testimony is about as useful as a hole in the head. Then again, there might be something to it.
What can you tell me about the Silent Raven?
Ah, the Raven. My home away from home.
I would have thought that was this place. Unless this one is just the home.
Do you have many friends there? People you speak with often?
Yes, friends. I call them friends anyway, but really, what is a friend? Someone who drinks with you? Someone who shares secrets with you? Are those friends? My father used to tell me that the only two friends you had were your mother and the crown in your pocket. Well, both of those are gone now, so what does that mean for me?
I don't know, sir. I'm just asking about people you speak to at the Raven.
The barmaid, Nicole, she gets mad at me sometimes when I break things. But she's all right.
Have you ever conversed with a patron called Singing Tom?
Singing Tom? You mean old Tom Puffin?
I'm not sure. I was just told he was called Singing Tom and was a regular at the Silent Raven.
That's the man. I see him in here all the time.
In here? Not just at the Raven?
Tom is a child of the poppy, just as I am. He truly understands the world as it is.
Do you know where I might be able to find him?
Yes. He's the choir master at St. Denis Cathedral. That's where he spends his time when he's not here.
You mean to tell me we have to talk to another one of these loonies? Wonderful.
Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, young man. May you find peace and happiness.
I beg your pardon. Are you Tom Puffin?
I am. How may I help you?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. I wanted to ask you a few questions.
Questions? Have I done something wrong?
No, Mr. Puffin. I simply believe you may have some information that I need.
Very well, then.
What were you doing on election night, Mr. Puffin?
Election night? That was ages ago, wasn't it?
It was 4 nights ago, to be precise.
Oh, you have to understand. I have trouble recalling what I ate for breakfast this morning, let alone what happened 4 nights ago.
Well, isn't that convenient?
Do try to remember, Mr. Puffin. It's quite important.
Well, I know I voted at my local polling place, the Silent Raven. And then... I'm not sure, actually.
Do you know anything about the murder outside the Silent Raven?
Murder?
Yes, a man was shot. Did you see or hear anything?
I don't remember. I don't think so, no.
How long were you at the Raven that evening?
Not very long, I don't think. I went, voted, stayed for a drink, and then I left.
You recall what you did the rest of the evening?
Not specifically. I probably went home and went to bed, like I always do.
Do you recognize the man in this photo?
Is that? No, never mind.
What is it?
Well, for a moment, I thought it was someone else, but I was clearly mistaken.
So you don't recognize this person, then?
Afraid not. Who is he?
His name is, or rather was, Ronan Lespay.
What? Is he dead?
He is. I'm trying to find out who killed him.
Well, I hope you find your man, Mr. Fordham.
Does the name Priscilla mean anything to you?
Priscilla? What does that have to do with anything?
The name has come up in my investigation. Is it someone you're acquainted with?
No, it isn't. I don't know anyone by that name.
He certainly seemed concerned about her, though.
Are you in the habit of using opium, Mr. Puffin?
What? Why would you think that?
I met your friend Darius. He told me you share a pastime.
All right, yes, I do enjoy a visit to the opium den from time to time.
From time to time? More like morning, noon, and night.
Have you found the drug has had any adverse effects? Memory loss, for example.
I admit I'm not quite as quick as I used to be, but without it, I'm in constant pain.
Is that right?
I fell off a horse when I was 15, and ever since then, my back's not been right. The doctors haven't been able to help. Poppy is my only comfort. I wish there were another way.
It might be worth seeking a more professional opinion about the effects of opium.
So, what do you think of the election results?
All right, the election. Who won?
Leroy. He beat Atwood by a significant margin.
Oh, I suppose that's good. I think I may have voted for him, but I'm not sure.
How did you become choir master of this church?
Oh, well, I studied music at the University of New Britannia. Once I completed my studies, I began writing symphonies in hopes of securing a patron, but I had no luck. So I decided to focus on choral compositions. I sent a few pieces to the bishop, and he offered me the position.
And you enjoy it?
Oh, yes, sir, immensely. I'm able to continue composing songs for our choir, as well as teach music to our young members. I take my church duties very seriously.
What else do you do besides lead the choir?
Just a few things here and there, making sure the aisles and the pews are clean, tending to the prayer candles, and that sort of thing.
I'll let you resume your practicing, Mr. Puffin.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Prayer candles? People think lighting one of these is going to solve their problems. If only it were that easy. Also, what happens if they go out? Does that mean your prayer gets canceled? Shh! What? It's an important question! The more I think about it, the more I want to test my theory about prayers being canceled if the candles go out. Well, that's all of them. Hope you made a wish.
Could I have another moment of your time, Mr. Puffin?
Yes, I suppose so.
It seems that all the prayer candles have gone out.
Have they? Blast, I keep saying there's a draft, but nobody's done anything about it. Excuse me for a moment, won't you?
Let's hope this chest hasn't got squeaky hinges.
Could I have another moment of your time, Mr. Puffin?
Yes, I suppose so.
Do you know anyone named Ned?
Ned? Well, yes, I do. My nephew, Ned Bunkridge.
Your nephew?
Yes, why do you ask?
Where might I find Ned? I'd like to speak with him.
Is everything all right? Ned hasn't gotten into any trouble, has he? I always tell him just because he's training his body, that's no excuse to pick fights.
No, he hasn't gotten into any trouble.
Oh, well, he lives in Lyon. 511 Parkside Terrace.
Right. Thank you for the information. I'll let you resume your practicing, Mr. Puffin.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Pardon me, Edwards.
Yes?
Edwards, do you know much about the effects of opium?
Quite a great deal, unfortunately. It's all the rage these days. Most people use it to calm the nerves or relieve pain, but it's highly addictive and has numerous adverse effects.
Such as?
It depends, really. Most common are sweating, nausea, memory loss, or blurred vision. But more serious cases can lead to hallucination, violent mood swings, coma, or even death. I just had a case in here a few weeks ago who died from an opium overdose. It wasn't pretty.
Doesn't sound like it. Thanks for the information, Edwards.
Anytime.
I'll be going now, Edwards.
Take care, Fordham.
Right this way, sir. Mr. Bunkridge is in his gymnasium.
Thank you, my good man.
Well, you take a look at this place, and take a look at him. Maybe you should consider doing some training yourself, Miles. You aren't getting any younger after all.
Excuse me, Mr. Bunkridge?
Oh, hello. Who are you?
I'm Miles Fordham, a private investigator. Your valet let me in.
Right, of course. What can I do for you?
I have a few questions for you, if you'd be so kind.
Yes, all right. I could use a bit of a rest anyway.
Are you familiar with a man named Ronan Lespay?
Never heard of him.
I have his portrait. Maybe you recognize him?
No, I've never seen this man before, but... Huh, how about that?
How about what?
The detail in this ferrotype is a bit fuzzy, but his facial features and hair, they vaguely resemble mine.
You know, now that he mentions it, it's true. Lespay does bear a passing resemblance to this fellow. Not quite as handsome, though.
Does the name Priscilla mean anything to you?
Yes, it most certainly does. My lady love is named Priscilla Poundstone.
I see. What can you tell me about her?
Oh, she's a darling. I love her very much. Such a kind and gentle soul she is, too. Loves animals, especially dogs. We've been together for ages and are due to be married soon.
When was the last time you saw her?
Saw her? Oh, no, Mr. Fordham. She doesn't live in New Britannia. She attends Miss Threadneedle's Academy for Young Ladies in Cormorant.
She lives in New Holland?
That's right. I've never actually met Priscilla face to face. We communicate exclusively through correspondence.
How did you two get involved?
Her father and mine were old military friends. They decided between them that their children would be engaged.
And you're both in agreement?
Yes. I admit at first I was a bit hesitant, but we share many of the same interests. The distance between us is not a detriment to our love.
I wonder how that will change once they actually begin cohabiting.
Thanks for your time.
Not a problem.
This seems to be where Ned keeps his extra equipment and assorted other garbage. This seems to be where Ned...
Could I ask you a few more questions, Mr. Bunkridge?
All right, but try not to take too long. Don't want to drop my heart rate too much.
So you correspond regularly with Priscilla?
That's right. At least one letter a week. My uncle does me the kindness of acting as courier.
Do you think I might have a look at one of those letters?
What for? They're private correspondence.
I understand, but I feel this is important. Perhaps you could show me one that isn't too personal.
Yes, I suppose that would be all right. In fact, I think there's a recent one on the shelf there. That's not too private. But you won't need to take it, will you?
Not at all. I just want to have a look. Thanks for your time.
Not a problem.
Wait just a minute. Something's off here. The handwriting in this letter is different to the one we found before. There's something strange going on with this Priscilla.
Could I ask you a few more questions, Mr. Bunkridge?
All right, but try not to take too long. Don't want to drop my heart rate too much.
Tell me about your uncle.
You know Tom?
I've met him, yes. He's the one who told me where you lived.
Oh, right. Well, my uncle is, an interesting man.
Is that an interesting of the good or bad variety?
I really wish he would take better care of himself is all. I have the feeling that he's on some sort of drug, although he always denies it.
What gives you that impression?
Well, most of the time he acts completely normal. He goes to work, visits with me. Sometimes we go out together to the theater or a gallery. But some days his mood changes. He goes very solitary, won't leave his house, gets short with me. One time I went to visit him, I heard him yelling along with what sounded like furniture being knocked about. It only happened once, but it worried me. I hope Tom isn't in any sort of trouble.
Opium is one hell of a drug. It's a good thing you never got to that point with the soporific, or Adelaide would have thrown you out much sooner.
Are you all right, Mr. Fordham?
Yes, I'm fine.
What? Too soon?
Could you give me Tom's address?
You don't have it? I thought you said you'd spoken with him.
I visited him at the cathedral.
But if he's there, why do you want his address?
I think there's something going on between him and Priscilla.
Something going on? What do you mean?
I found a letter addressed to you from her at the cathedral, and the handwriting is different to the letter you have here.
He has one of her letters? Why would he?
I'm not sure, which is why I'd like to search his home and find out more.
If he's going behind my back, I swear I'll...
Calm yourself, Mr. Bunkridge. If I find anything, you'll be the first to know.
All right. Tom lives at 117 Gimlet Terrace in Worcester.
Hey, practically neighbors.
Here, I've got a spare key. If you find anything about him and Priscilla, you'll tell me, won't you?
Of course. Thank you, Mr. Bunkridge. Thanks for your time.
Not a problem.
Nice place. Tidy. Nothing incriminating that I can see.
People rarely leave anything incriminating out in the open. It's time to have a look around.
That's odd. There are some scratches on the floor next to that statue. How about that? Looks like we found Singing Tom's buried treasure.
Let's just see what we have here.
Interesting stuff, but what about the box itself? It seems Puffin's gun has gone missing. He should really take better care of his things. Jenkins and Bowen. The name shares the initials that were on the murder weapon. That's quite a coincidence, wouldn't you say?
I would if I believed in coincidences.
Things are starting to fall into place here, Miles. Between the letters, the missing gun, and what Edwards told us about the effects of opium, I think we have enough evidence to consider Puffin a suspect.
Can we talk for a moment, Upton?
Certainly. What's on your mind?
I'll let you get back to work.
And you'd better do the same.
He won't be much more help right now. Leave him to his practice. He really needs it.
Could I ask you a few more questions, Mr. Bunkridge?
All right, but try not to take too long.
So, you know nothing about the murder outside the Silent Raven 4 nights ago?
That's right. I don't even know what the Silent Raven is.
It's a bar in the Chum.
Well, that explains it. For one thing, I don't go to that part of town. A man like me sets foot in that den of ruffians, and I'll have every Tom, Dick, and Harry challenging me to a fight. Not that I couldn't take them, but I have better ways to train my body than beating thugs. Anyway, I don't drink. Dulls the mind and softens the body.
I see. Well, just thought I'd ask.
I'm sorry I can't help you, Mr. Fordham, but I hope you solve whatever it is you're investigating. You seem like a nice enough sort.
You're very into physical conditioning, aren't you?
Oh, you noticed. Yes, I believe that a healthy body is just as important as a healthy mind.
Well, he's definitely prioritizing the former.
It's important to keep fit, especially at a job like mine where I'm in a chair most of the day.
What job is that?
I'm a clerk at the Bank of Vespuccia. But someday, I hope to leave and teach others about the health benefits of regular exercise. Perhaps even open up my own gymnasium.
Ah, he actually thinks people are gonna go for that? Good luck to him.
Thanks for your time.
Not a problem.
Puffin's daily planner. The man leads an even more boring life than you. Who knew that was even possible? No point wasting time searching Puffin's bedroom. I have a feeling that if there's something to find, it's here in the sitting room. So Puffin plays at home too? His poor neighbors. Puffin's music room is a bit lacking in comparison to the one in the painting.
It's empty.
Music books. Clearly Puffin has never touched them. The look in her eye tells me she's probably hiding something.
You got time for a few more questions, Mrs. Morgan?
Yes, of course.
Are you familiar with someone who goes by the name Jimbo?
No, I don't think so. Who is that?
A friend of Ronan's.
No, as I told you, I didn't know Ronan to have any friends. I especially don't recall him mentioning anyone called Jimbo.
I've completed my investigation of your brother's murder, Mrs. Morgan.
You have? Oh, that's such a relief to hear. Who killed him?
It was Tom Puffin, choir master at St. Denis Cathedral.
What? But why would a member of the church do something like that?
Puffin is in love with his nephew Ned's fiancée, Priscilla. He's even gone so far as to intercept their letters and write to each of them under false pretenses. Mr. Puffin is also an avid opium user and is prone to fits of rage as well as hallucinations. The evening of the murder, Puffin was at the Silent Raven, and in his opium-induced fog mistook your brother for Ned. He had his pistol on him, and his rage and jealousy got the better of him. Poor Ronan was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And what about the clothes he was wearing? Or why he was in Chumley in the first place?
I'm afraid those are questions I cannot answer, Mrs. Morgan. However, I have sufficient evidence to place Mr. Puffin at the scene of the crime.
Well, I suppose that's good enough then. So what happens now?
Now, I'll inform Miss Upton of my findings, and she'll send an officer along to arrest Puffin. From there, justice will be served accordingly.
I see. Thank you for your help, Mr. Fordham.
Tom Puffin?
Yes, may I help you, officer?
You're under arrest for the murder of Ronan Lespay.
What? Oh, God. So it wasn't a dream.
Come along, sir. We need to question you at the station.
You know, Miles, you've been coming in here a lot lately, but you've never looked quite this glum. What's going on?
I've bungled things pretty badly at home. Been staying with a friend the past couple of weeks.
I see. What happened?
I haven't been honest with my wife. Coming here and drowning my sorrows hasn't really helped, oddly enough. And yet, it's all I can do to keep from going crazy.
You know, Miles, I've seen and heard a lot of things over the years. Some of the stories would turn your hair white. But through it all, I've come to learn one thing. It's usually not too late to make things better, but only if you let yourself try.
Thank you for the advice, Patrick.
All I can do is give it, Miles. Whether you choose to take it or not is entirely up to you. Now, would you like another gin?
No, thank you. This time I really do need to be on my way. I should go and see how my wife is doing.
I see. Well, have a good night, Miles. And good luck to you.
Who in the ether? Miles? This is a surprise.
Addie, it's so good to see you. I've been such an idiot lately.
Well, I'm glad you can admit to it. Would you like to come in?
Very much.
Was there something you wanted to talk about?
I've given it a lot of thought, and I think it's time I finally told you the truth.
Miles, what are you doing? You know this is a terrible idea.
The truth?
About why I've been acting the way I have been since Bill died.
Well, go on. I'm listening.
Don't do it, Miles. You know it's a one-way ticket to Riverview if you do.
I've been hearing Bill's voice ever since he died.
Fordham, what is wrong with you?
His voice?
I can't believe this! You've just destroyed your life! I hope you realize that!
Yes, in my head, at all hours. That's why I was taking the soporific. It was the only way to keep him quiet. Or so I thought. Turns out that alcohol has the same effect.
What does he say to you?
The type of things he'd say when he was alive. Snarky comments, inappropriate jokes. Mainly he nags me to find the flower shop burglar. He thinks doing that will let him find peace and move on.
I see.
I told you you'd think I was crazy.
Don't be ridiculous, Miles. It's nothing like that. It's just, I wish you had told me sooner is all.
I know, but I was afraid.
Well, I'm glad you finally trusted me. You know, you could have all along.
So, you're all right with it?
It is quite a lot to take in. I think I'll need some time to mull it over. But what matters now is that we can work through this together.
I understand. Well, I should probably go. It was lovely to see you again, Addie.
Lovely to see you too, Miles.
Perhaps I'll stop by again next week?
Or sooner, if you'd like.
Sure. Like the men in white coats aren't gonna have you taken away by then.
Right. I'll see myself out then.
Good night, Miles.